All right, welcome to the Stoneridge Connect session for Advanced Quality Management. My name is Derek, and I'm here with Eric to look at the new advanced quality features available in D365. So Microsoft has released Advanced Quality Management in 10.0.44, and these features are enabled by default as of 10.0.47. So if you haven't already, you should be seeing these features light up in your environment. These changes include some big enhancements and new features to the quality management area. As you can see on the slide, there's more functionality being released than we are going to be able to cover in today's session. But the goal here is really just to showcase some of what's included. I'm going to start with a quick review of some highlights that might be immediately impactful for anyone already using quality management. And Eric's going to take a bit of a deeper dive into CAPA management functionality that's recently been released. So from there, I will just jump into my environment. So the first thing I wanted to start with is the new quality order processing and inquiry workspace, which is really a nice touch for the lab techs or QA techs to help manage their workload. Like all the other workspaces, it gives them but one central spot to get all their filtered grids into tiles and get all the links for them all in one place. So just a little bit of a nice touch to help manage their workload. From here, I'm going to start on the quality associations. And a couple things I just wanted to highlight is that Microsoft has added 2 new reference types. So in addition to everything that was available previously, we've now got reference types on the quality associations to be able to initiate automatic creation of quality orders during the sales return and the transfer order process. So really just some new flexible points in the system to initiate those automated quality order creations. Second thing, maybe I'll just mention on this form that we touch on is that we've now got the ability to assign quality order priorities, and we've even got the ability to assign those down to a specific worker if that's part of the business process. So anything created through these quality associations would flow right onto the quality order itself. And obviously you've got the ability to set those manually after creation as well. But those are just some of the highlights I think I wanted to cover on the quality associations. Now, if we head back to Workspace and drill into our open quality order, I think for anyone that works in this form today, you'll notice some new buttons that we'll try to cover. So for any of the users and lab techs that have been entering results into quality orders up until now, the process has always been select your line, go into the results, add your results, go back, go into the next form, and it can be a bit of a cumbersome process with lots of clicks in between each of the entry points. So Microsoft has introduced a quick results entry form at the top. So you can, from this form, enter all of the results for a single quality order from a single form. So I can update my test values to a pass status, and I can key in my result values, and you'll see that immediately on the right-hand side, I'm getting feedback whether they're falling within my spec ranges and whether they're going to pass. Again, that can all be done from one place now. We've also got a free text field for users to enter their notes, which is helpful and has been a common complaint and customization for some of the customers that we've worked with. The next thing I'll highlight is at the top, we've got split functions. So in this case, we've got a sample of a quantity of 10 that we are testing. And this form will give you the ability to split these off. So if I wanted to split my cone weight test into two test result lines, maybe one of them weighed 13, one of them weighed 13.5, it gives you that ability and flexibility to split those out as you need it, and even the ability to reset them if you've already entered them. It will just clear your results. So that is more or less it for the quick result entry. It's worth noting that this form is touching your result data in real time. This is not a temporary table. So as you're entering your results in this form, you will immediately see those results in the result lines as you normally would previously, right? So it doesn't change any of the data. It just really gives you a new form and options for inputting those values. All right, so from here, I'm going to quickly just jump into the test groups. So many labs that we work with can have a test group with up to 24 tests, for often assigned to a single item, and they can be rather cumbersome to create and maintain, especially for a new product setup and things like that. The new copy test group function is a really nice addition. This will allow you to you can create a new group. Oh, already new group 2. And this will allow us to copy everything from our previous cone group into our new group, right? So many times what we see is customers or labs have created these test groups to represent test metrics for a specific item. When they create items of a similar nature, they can usually find a test group that would make a meaningful starting position that you can then just make adjustments and edits to, as opposed to starting from scratch and having to re-add all of those lines constantly one by one. So just a really nice kind of quality of life change to help the users build these out. The other thing I'll mention while we're here is this test plan notes. So we've got the ability now to, at the test group level, attach notes to specific tests. These could be instructions or any note that you find would be of benefit to the techs for those executing the process. It's a nice way to build those out, even if they are instructional for some of the new people, right? You've got options there to bring that information right down to the quality order level, right? So when we come back to our quality order, you can see that our test plan notes flow from the test group right into the test group, from the test group into the quality order line, and just makes that data available for those in the lab executing on those tests. So that's largely, I think, what I had in mind to cover. I think I'm not going to have too much time to get into a demo of the customer CO requirements, but I'll just say that the system now provides a framework to identify unique customer requirements, such as labels or tolerances tied to customer-specific batch attributes, and drive those values directly onto the COA as that report is generated. So that's always been a bit of a gap, and how we handle that, this gives us a little bit more flexibility for those scenarios. That's all I really had prepared today. I tried to showcase some of the quick win type of functionality that may be really impactful for users on day one, that more than likely people will be seeing in the UI as they are in the system day to day. And from here, I'll pass it over to Eric at this point. I think he's going to do a bit of a deeper dive into the new CAPA functionality.
Right on. Yeah. Thanks, Derek. Like Derek mentioned, I'll take over the screen share here. One of the other big updates to Microsoft's quality functionality is the inclusion of CAPA case management processes. Corrective and Preventive Action, or CAPA, is how an organization learns from problems and prevents them from happening in the future, right? So in its simplest terms, it breaks down into our corrective action. We're going to fix what went wrong, and our preventive action. We're going to change the system so it doesn't go wrong again. Today, we're going to explore an example specific to a food and bev producer, which is a segment where CAPA is especially important to maintain FDA regulatory compliance. It's a segment where inspectors are routinely asking, how do you prevent this from happening again? Show me how you track and close issues. How do you know your fix worked? So CAPA is the documented answer to these questions. And it's not just a business process. CAPA is a framework with rigorous documentation and reporting requirements. Here, we're going to talk through how the FDA lays out the stages of the CAPA lifecycle, starting with investigate, right? We're identifying the issue. This could be a line operator flagging a deviation, QA logging a complaint, an auditor writing a finding. From there, we move into identify and implement actions. So this is our immediate correction and our root cause analysis. We're potentially holding a bad product, reserving a bad product, we're adjusting equipment, and then we're digging deeper to identify where the failure was. Was it training, equipment, materials? Are there environmental factors? Why did our controls fail? We then move into verify and or validate for effectiveness. This could look like retesting reserved samples after implementing our changes. Then we move into permanently implementing systemic changes. This is our long-term fix. This is where we improve monitoring, we modify equipment, perhaps we change supplier controls. Then we disseminate to responsible individuals. This could look like updating standard operating procedures, retraining staff before we finally submit for management review. This is really our final verification where we confirm that our fix works and we ensure that the issue doesn't happen again. So in D365, we've implemented a framework for case management infrastructure for identifying, correcting, and preventing future issues. This case management process has been designed to meet current good manufacturing practice requirements. It's intended to meet FDA expectations, and of course, it supports our core disciplines for quality standards such as Six Sigma, ISO 9000. With that said, let's jump into our environment and review how CAPA actually works in D365. So when we create a new CAPA case, we're kicking off a series of, predetermined processes and resolutions which align with the life cycle that we just reviewed, right? So these steps can be managed by a D365 workflow requiring approval of each step before advancing the case, although we don't have that configuration enabled for our demo today. So the stages and the actions that must be taken to progress the case are all defined by our CAPA processes that we configure in the system. So let's take a look at what those look like here by going into inventory management, setup, and then under CAPA management, we have our CAPA processes. So a few sets of processes have been configured here. We can see that each of them has to be approved in order to be used in an actual CAPA case. I want to click into our template process and we'll examine the actual steps that make up that process here in the details view. So here we can see each of the levels that make up our CAPA process, and nested within each are the tasks and actions that need to be completed and documented before moving on to the next level. Within each of these levels too, we can also see the worker group as well as the responsible worker who's going to be assigned to each step in the process. And we can click into our investigator worker group here and see how this is configured. Here we can see that our worker group is made up of 2 users. One is checked as the default worker, and this user is going to be assigned to CAPA activities by default. Depending on our configuration, all users in the group can be notified by email when a CAPA case enters and exits a stage assigned to the group. So for the sake of time, we're going to step through a slightly abbreviated CAPA case. And in our example scenario, we're a flour mill, we produce a non-ready-to-eat wheat flour. And during routine quality testing, a production batch has failed to meet their spec range by a pretty significant margin. Moisture and protein levels are pretty significantly out of spec. So we're going to start our CAPA process with our failed quality order, right? Again, in inventory management, we'll come down here to quality management and quality orders. And from here, we can see our quality order 106 and the fail status. And if we review our test results, we can see that protein tested at 25%, moisture at 28%, double or greater than the max allowable values in the passing spec range for this product. To our quality technician, that's going to indicate potentially an issue with the testing equipment to see a spec that far, a reading that far out of spec. And so she is going to initiate a new CAPA case for this failed product quality order. It's as easy as coming up into the action pane and clicking CAPA case and create CAPA case. From here, we'll start by defining the user who is generating the CAPA case. We will provide a description, spec, test device review, assign a priority. Of course, these are all pre-configured. If this CAPA case was related to an open or previously closed case, we could select that case as a parent here. We won't worry about that for now. We'll just select a category. And in this case, we're going to say this is a product CAPA case. And for our process, we're going to use the high-risk process that's been defined in the system. And we'll click create. So there are a handful of items that we can review. Now that we're into the case details, for starters, we must enter the CAPA type. In this case, we'll select CAPA, although if there was a different evaluation framework that we needed to use, non-conforming material report, for example, we could select that here. Additional options for fleshing out your CAPA case, but for now, we'll focus on some of the other functionality here. We have the email notification list. If there are users outside of the user group, excuse me, the CAPA worker groups that are part of this, the CAPA process we selected, we can add those here and they'll receive, depending on our configuration, email alerts as the case progresses through its stages. We also have the case log, which is empty for now, but will fill with lines as we perform and complete actions in the CAPA process. And then in the associations, pardon me, take a quick drink. In the associations, because we generated our CAPA case from a quality order, we of course have some information related to the quality order and item that are involved in this case. And we'll come back and talk more about resolution at the end of the demo. So for now, all that's really left to us is to begin actually working through the CAPA case process. And we start by adjusting the status of our case from opened to in process. And from here, then we click into the General FAST tab, Activities, and View Activities. Now we can see the only activity we have available to us right now is the one activity that is associated with the stage of the case that we are in, identify the problem. We have our responsible user, again, determined by the worker group assigned to this stage of the case. This user will receive an email if that configuration is available, notifying them that they have an action to take related to this case. So let's click into our activity. And we have a description defining instructions for the user, what is needed in order to confirm and close out this action on the CAPA case. In this case, we need to clearly define and document the issue that triggered the CAPA process. So we'll throw our description in here. Our product is significantly out of spec, and we suspect an issue with the NIR test instrument. With that completed, we can save and set as complete our activity, and we see that the status has been updated to closed, and it's indicated the user who closed it, the date and time it was closed. From here, we can back out again to our case management form. We'll refresh this page really quick, and that frees up the ability for us to change the stage of our CAPA case to the next available stage. We'll move into evaluation. And we repeat that process. We hop into the activities, and we can see now a new activity related to our new stage of the CAPA case is available. And now it's time for us to identify any actions that should be taken. In this case, due to our product being significantly out of spec, our user is going to perform a quality hold on that batch. Oh, excuse me, I grabbed the wrong. Yep. Perform a inventory hold on the affected batch until we've completed our review of this product. So That's a process that would need to take place outside of the CAPA management system. Within our CAPA case, we're just documenting, here's what was done in order to address this requirement on the case. We've moved this batch to a hold status. We'll save, set as complete. And again, change the stage of our CAPA case. And in the final activity we're going to look at on this case in particular, what is the correction that we've implemented? In this case, again, due to the nature of our test, it seems likely that our test instrument requires recalibration. We're going to work with our quality maintenance team in order to get that work completed. And having done so, we document it here in the CAPA activity and complete our step. In a real CAPA case, we'd obviously need additional steps, right? So validation, verification, retesting, and updates to our standard operating procedure. This CAPA case would likely end with a process update requiring more frequent calibration maintenance on the NIR testing device. But for now, let's consider this case complete and look at our steps to resolve our CAPA case. And that all happens down here in the resolution fast tab. Because we were able to resolve our case with an update to, with calibration of our NIR machine and an update to our standard operating procedure, we're going to say that our resolution was an SOP update, testing calibration. And our root cause code will set to the calibration issue. These obviously need to be configured ahead of time. Our our CAPA resolution type will be a change in process, and we'll leave a final note indicating indicating that we've completed all of the required activities and we're closing our case. With that done, we can come up here and finally change the status of our case to closed. So obviously managing a CAPA case doesn't actually happen in the span of 10 minutes by a single user all in one shot. So we have the CAPA management workspace, which I want to show just really briefly here in Workspaces and CAPA management. From here, you can really easily track your open CAPA cases and activities assigned specifically to your user, as well as some helpful tracking metrics. I'm not going to really dig into this, but just know that the workspace exists and it makes it very easy to get the lay of the land when it comes to tracking CAPA case activity across your org. That's going to do it for my demo. I just want to close out by returning to this slide really quickly, just to remind you that in this session, we really only managed to highlight a few of the features that are new or significantly improved with this update to D365's suite of quality functionality. So in our CAPA demo, we addressed an issue caused by a lack of equipment calibration, which is an issue that probably wouldn't even have occurred if we were utilizing the new test instrument calibration functionality to tie into asset management and drive routine calibration work through automation. If you're using D365's quality features in any part of your business, now really is a great time to reach out to your Stoneridge client partner and learn how you can take advantage of some of this new functionality. And with that, I will say thank you to everybody for attending our session.